We do first want to get to the breaking hurricane news of the day. The record books have a new storm right at the top of them officially. The National Hurricane Center has confirmed Hurricane Mellisa is now one of the most powerful storms to ever haunt the Atlantic basin. On October 28, 2025, a Category 5 monster set its sights on Jamaica, and when it slammed into New Hope, it brought sustained winds of 185 miles per hour, tying the record for the strongest Atlantic landfall in history, in recorded history. For Jamaica, the impacts were catastrophic. We saw that courtesy of the amazing work of our teams on Jamaica during and in the immediate aftermath of this storm. It was devastating there, truly. Mellisa has officially surpassed 1988's Hurricane Gilbert to become the most intense storm to ever strike the island. Let's bring in Fox Weather Correspondent Robert Ray. Robert, you and the team did that amazing work on Jamaica. This is important, some of the quality control, the science that goes in after the fact, for the science, for the academics. But if anybody knows this, it's you. The difference between 180, 185, 190, that's purely academic. We know how devastating this was because of your reporting.
Well, Ian, I will say this. Reading that white paper, the academic paper put out by the National Weather Service today, or the National Hurricane Center, 50, 60 pages long. I will tell you it's fascinating to read when you have gone through the impacts on the ground. So I found it to be very informative, and I'm glad that these kind of papers exist several months after storms, historic ones like Hurricane Mellisa. And as I'm talking, maybe we look at some of the video from the team on the ground that we were there, Jared Maloney and our photographer and myself traversing around the island, trying to make decisions that would bring the best reporting and visuals and show the world what one of the strongest, tied for the strongest hurricane in the Atlantic ever does. And as we moved around, what we quickly realized is in the aftermath is that this was an island, at least the west side of the island, that was devastated like nothing that we had seen. We were talking about roadways inundated with water. There were scenes of just apocalyptic, catastrophic devastation. Unfortunately, injuries and death, mountains that had quite literally haircuts, if you will. And what I mean by that is the wind speeds so strong that they ripped off all the vegetation off of the trees and the mountains and quite literally tore the bark off of trees. Those are unbelievable force winds, 190 miles an hour right before landfall and impact. That's what this paper had discovered, 185 miles an hour. Exact impact in New Hope, Jamaica, that is just to the west of Black River, which, officials called ground zero. And we found it to be that as well upon our arrival. Now, it wasn't just where the landfall occurred. As the system moved into Jamaica, about 60 miles wide, up and down Jamaica is, and moved over the high terrain, the mountains, it just devastated everything in sight. And then into Montego Bay and St. Anne Parish, where it was roadway and community after another of just catastrophic scenes and terror and trauma that the people there went through. And I think to really go back several months and get a feel for what everybody in Jamaica went through, maybe we revisit some of the moments from our live coverage on the ground. Have a watch.
We have the chaplain.
Not to interrupt you, but for our viewers who are watching what you just heard, Pete, if you can, turn the camera. A woman just screaming in horror right now. Screaming in horror. I'm not sure why, but one of their colleagues, a police officer, embracing her and taking her off. Are you okay?
No.
And children then. Holy faith, girl.
What are we in this?
Hold it. We are together. Holy faith. Holy faith.
And I just want you to see this right now. And you look at this situation, and it is as far as the eye can see. I don't think I've ever seen anything like this. Maybe the closest
the tsunami, Christmas Eve tsunami of 2004, of which I was in Sri Lanka in the aftermath.
We are moving into this community where people are in desperate need of goods and supplies. Yeah. Look, we covered this from before, during, and after. And where we placed ourselves, Ian and everyone, was not in Black River and New Hope. We just felt that that was going to be unsustainable and unsafe, and we wouldn't have been able to get our broadcast signal out of there during impact at 185-mile-an-hour winds. So we rode this out basically north central Jamaica, St. Ann Parish. And even there, the fury of this storm was more intense than what we even anticipated. We experienced, anywhere between 135 to 145 mile-an-hour wind gusts that quite literally blew the windows out of a large home that we were in that we thought would stand up, and it did. It's just that the wind was so intense that as it moved through that part, it just ripped apart all the structures in the area. Unfortunately, it was just a very dangerous, traumatic night, and then we woke up to see the faces of the people and what they went through. And the just anguish and how would they move forward during this. And in the days and the weeks after, we saw the non-governmental organizations, NGOs, come in from around the globe and try to take care of the people there in Jamaica, and the government of Jamaica working with other governments like the United States to try and enforce the fact that there would be peace at some point. But the issue is still, there are many hotels in the north in Montego Bay. That's the big tourist area that are still trying to reopen, still trying to recover. There are folks that live in the mountainous areas, those communities just devastated and so difficult to get to. And the only way that I could get in there was by helicopter in the aftermath. And I went in with all these incredible aid groups to try and document their kindness and help to all those people. It's a progress and it's a process of Jamaica trying to get back. But when you go through such fury, historical fury, the strongest in the Atlantic history, it's just how do you even understand the force of 252-mile-an-hour winds, up above, and then 190 right before landfall, and 185, and then tearing across the mountains, and this country that really just lives off tourism, and they can't make that happen to its fullest potential right now because they're still in recovery. Just a phenomenal moment for me. Impacted my soul, my heart, forever. I will never forget it, and I hope to return and document the resilience of Jamaicans and everyone there trying to come back from what is a fight you could never win against Mother Nature, Hurricane Mellisa. Ian?
Robert, I'll never forget it. I remember that night being on the air with you as the windows and the place that you rented out for the crew, those blew on out during your coverage. And you talked about this recovery, the tourism-based economy of Jamaica. In the report, there were some estimates, so almost $9 billion in damage, which was like 4 times Gilbert, the previous worst storm on record. Robert, the entire GDP of the island nation, $24 billion. When you talk about that recovery, and I remember in the immediate aftermath some of the despair that you had showed us on Fox Weather, what do you think about the pacing of that recovery? I know it's years always to recover from a storm like that. Do you have any idea the lasting mark that it'll leave on Jamaica?
From the aid groups that I've stayed in touch with and just monitoring, the government of Jamaica, it is just nonstop work that's going on there, especially with the government. I mean, they've been trying to solidify funds. They've been trying to, earmark money that could go toward tourism and then the communities. They've tried to open up employment opportunities to their best. Aid groups are still on the ground there fulfilling food and water water to communities that are still it's very tough to get into. But I will tell you this, I mean, if you look at the hotels and you try to book something there, you know, on, that highway from Montego Bay into St. Anne Parish, many of them are still closed and they're trying to recover. But see, that's the thing. The faster that all happens, the better this island begins to come back. And, you know, at least 45 people lost their life. And that's just an amazing scenario. And by the way, so many injured. I mean, we were in Black River at a makeshift hospital by an NGO there, and just the amount of people lying on cots with, you know, limb injuries or head injuries were not in the dozens, in the hundreds. And so as we approach, you know, less than 100 days away from hurricane season again, I think it's just so important to see the resilience and the recovery process. And again, you know, I certainly would like to get back down there and, you know, be, you know, eyes and ears and really fulfill, you know, our mission of before, during, and after, and see how they're actually doing and talk to people in person. That's really the way to judge and take the pulse of a recovery operation in a situation like this.
Yeah, no question. It was historic. It was heartbreaking by every single metric, and just a little bit of new information confirming that today from the National Hurricane Center. Top of the list, that hurricane. That's Fox Weather Correspondent Robert Ray. Robert, great work through this, and I do hope you can get back and show us that progress that's happening. Robert, thank you.